Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome into the 143. This is episode 198. We're coming at you live.
Nick, coming at you after another Cowboys loss to nobody's surprise. They got throttled in Denver. A lot of things to take away from that game, but we'll get into it here in a minute.
Yep. Just kind of an abysmal week of NFL games. And, you know, we'll just start off stat of the week brought to you by our sponsor, Andrews Logistics. There was only one one-score game this week between the Jets and the Bengals as the Jets get a comeback win against Cincinnati. But the rest of the games were blowouts, essentially, more than one scores, decided by more than one score. This is the first time that has happened since 1970. Since week 14 of 1970, where we've had this, I'm just going to say bad of a week in terms of the quality of games that we got. Most of them being blowouts with garbage time points being scored. And just not great. Most of the games, you're flipping to, just couldn't find a decent one. The Jets one was like, they came back with like 5 minutes left. It's the Jets, so nobody cares. And
first win of the season, but
yeah, exactly. So that's a horrendous stat. We hated to see it. Hopefully, this is it for this season. We can get some better games.
Player of the week, we'll give the old James Cook a bone. 19 carries, 216 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I feel like you got to kind of highlight it when you get that 200-yard mark for a running back. Bills beat the Panthers 40-9. Not really.
Yeah. The Bills' true test is coming next week when they play Kansas City. Pretty big game. I don't know. Let me see when that game is. That is the 3:25 game on CBS for Week 9 as Kansas City this time will be traveling to Buffalo. Big game next week. So both teams this week they got their wins pretty easily with Kansas City beating Washington. Monday Night Football, pretty boring game. Kansas City kind of came alive in the second half and just ran away with the game. So that Chiefs-Bills game will be interesting. The Bills defense hasn't looked great, so it will be a sign of how good they are. Because we really don't know how good the Bills are right now because they're beating up on bad teams.
Yeah, obviously started off the season pretty hot, and then they just kind of stalled out there. Losing to the Falcons kind of was like, maybe are they actually good or not? I don't know. And then, they beat up on the Ravens, but the Ravens have been pretty up and down. They're
not a good team either.
But it's looking like the best team in the league right now might be the Colts, just because their defense is playing very good, and then their offense is just unreal.
On fire.
Tyler Warren, rookie tight end out of Penn State, having himself a season. Jonathan Taylor has another 3-touchdown game. That was like his 3rd or 4th of the season, something like that. He is looking. I think he needs to be talked about in the MVP conversations more.
Agreed.
Just because it's become such a quarterback stat that we're kind of ignoring the season that he's having as a running back. And then obviously Daniel Jones, he's been the talk of the town just because he's been able to turn his career around in this first season with Indianapolis. And so they're looking like the best team in the league right now, the team to beat. They've been the most consistent, I think, from week to week. So Indianapolis is, they're atop the mountain for me right now.
They haven't had a ton of super hard games, but the games that they've needed to go in and play bad teams and win pretty decidedly, they've done that. And then, they've beaten teams like the Chargers and the Cardinals and the Broncos. And honestly, they were Adonai Mitchell not dropping the ball in the end zone away from, potentially beating the Rams in their one loss of the season. They're a very well-rounded team. Their offense is firing on all cylinders. Like Nick said, I agree that Jonathan Taylor should be in the MVP discussion. Daniel Jones has an argument as well for MVP, and their defense is playing lights out right now. And it's looking like their division's not great this year, with maybe Jacksonville maybe would contend for that division a little bit. But the Colts look like, they are the number one seed in the playoffs if it were to start today. And I just don't see them getting worse, barring any injuries. But they've got a great team, and nobody saw the Colts coming this year, especially with Daniel Jones as their quarterback. So happy to see his resurgence. Little disclaimer for the episode: we're not going game by game this week because there were no good games this week, and so. But we wanted to highlight a couple things, so we are going to dive into the Cowboys season. And a lot of people were saying before this Broncos game, after we beat up on a very depleted Washington team last week, that we are one defensive piece away from being a Super Bowl contender. And I think that, if anything, this Broncos game showed everybody that the Cowboys are at least 10 defensive players away from being anything notable this season.
Yeah, it's a personnel issue. It's a coaching issue as well. I think Shoddy's doing a good job with the offense, but
absolutely.
Eberflus is absolutely horrible for us defensively. He's garbage. He needs to go. And I'm not really concerned with Trayvon Diggs and all these other guys that we've got missing because they haven't been playing good when they're in. And so,
what's been going on with Trayvon? Can we talk about that? Trayvon had some accident at his house last week, suffered a concussion, and then now he's on IR, which you don't need for concussions. So nobody knows what's going on with Trayvon Diggs, but a lot of people think that's the last time. This is the last time we're going to see him in a Cowboys uniform.
Which, that's fine with me because he's looking like toast out there every time he's in the secondary or in coverage,
He's still crying over the Micah trade as well, which it's like, dude, that's over, done, move on. So at this point, let's just send him to Green Bay. Micah's been speaking out about how we've been treating Trayvon Diggs. So send him to Green Bay. I'm sure they'd appreciate having a corner that stinks at their job up there. So, I agree. Secondary is so bad. We need safeties. We need corners. We need linebackers. We need at least eight new guys right now because nobody is stepping up to the plate behind the front four.
We've been seeing video of DeMarvion Overshown, not necessarily taking reps in practice, but at least looking like he's ready to come back. Or I say ready to come back. He's like starting to get back into the rehab process.
Yeah, he's looking good.
But the thing is, there's no point in trying to push him to play anytime soon because when he's out there on the field, he's such a playmaker that I don't really think it's worth
save him
trying to rush him on a season that essentially, we're 3-4-1, but with how bad this defense is, there's just not a lot of hope. So I think it's just let him fully recover and just bring him back next year.
It's so disappointing because we've never had, or not never, but it's been a long time since we haven't had an offense this good. I think we're before the Broncos game, we were the first offense in the NFL and the 32nd defense in the NFL. And we're still the 32nd defense in the NFL. And, it's just so disappointing because we have a great offense. But for us to win games, they've got to put up 50 a game at least to have a chance. And so if they it's where you're watching the game, and if we have a single drive that doesn't end in points, it's just so deflating because the other team's going to go take the ball down and score on the defense, and then we're down one score. Then next thing you know, we're down 3 scores. That's how I felt watching Denver play against us. Just Bo Nix was just lighting us up. He had all the time in the world to throw the ball, and everybody was always wide open. So it is just disheartening to watch Dak have to deal with that when he's finally playing MVP caliber football.
And, the defense did step up their first drive of the game, coming up with a pick.
But thrown right to him.
After that, they were just getting ran over by everybody. The running game, passing, Bo Nix was just dinking and dunking all over us. Dak, unfortunately, threw 2 interceptions. Pretty boneheaded on both
Yeah,
of
they
them.
weren't great.
But we've seen how
mean,
he's played this season, so it's not like this game is making me blow up on Dak or the offense or anything like that. We know what they're
no,
capable of. This is just, a bad game. And then also, if you're giving up 44 points, you can't really expect to win that
no.
many games.
I mean, this game kind of just showed us what we are this season. We're not a playoff team unless we make some changes, which I don't see us making. We're not a playoff team this year. And like Nick said, don't rush anybody back from injury. Just let the season kind of go on, and see what happens. It's only week 8. Like maybe we win the next 2 games against the Cardinals and the Raiders. We're tricking everybody again at that point with a winning record, but I think at this point, I would not sell a ton of picks at the deadline for players. I just, it doesn't matter who we get right now, unless we get a lot of guys. We are not changing our trajectory on the defensive side, because what did we see? We finally made some changes against the Commanders. We went from zone defense to man, and it worked. And then we went right back to zone against the Denver Broncos. For some reason, I don't know what Matt was thinking, Matt Eberflus, but it's looking like Matt Eberflus might need to go.
Yeah, I wasn't really that high on him to start the season, and week by week it seems like we're trashing on him every time we get on here on this show. This is showing us what we have offensively. Bring back Javonte Williams, bring back George Pickens. George Pickens especially.
George Pickens is going to be expensive.
Yes, but I think he has also made it somewhat clear that he would like to stay in Dallas if the option is there for him.
He has the same agent that Micah had, who Jerry does not like, David Mulugeta.
But
so that could
with
play a
that
part
being
in it.
said, he is going to be expensive, and then, who knows? Who knows? Because Jerry's obviously got to come out there and have his whole ordeal in the offseason, but it would not be worth it to sell a bunch of picks, sell a bunch of players, try and look, with how bad the defense is, I don't think it's something that you can fix in the middle of the season.
It's
because we're the 32 ranked defense. We need
you don't get better from that.
At least 8 new guys.
Yeah.
And a new defensive coordinator. It's just there's too many things wrong defensively where it's like I just don't think we can fix it unless they figure it out in the bye week. They just have a full 180, but it's just not worth it.
Yep, a lot of things to figure out. I think it's worth mentioning somebody that has seemed to figure it out. Mike Vrabel and the Patriots have won 5 straight. They have the longest winning streak in the NFL right now. The New England Patriots are looking like a completely different team this year. Drake May also in the MVP conversation right now, as he's playing really well in his second year. Got to give Vrabel a lot of credit. Came in, shifted that culture to a winning culture again, and I really like Mike Vrabel and what he's doing in New England.
Obviously, they get off to a slow start, looking like the same old Patriots, and then really turn it on. It was Sunday night against the Bills where Stephon Diggs and Drake May step into Buffalo and kind of just put the whole world on watch. Said, "Hey, look, we're here to." They weren't messing around. Drake May's looking better and better as the weeks go on. Stephon Diggs is settling into a groove, and they're looking like a force to be reckoned with because they've always had a pretty good offense. Pretty good defense, but in spite of how bad the offense is, they have been pretty below average over the last couple of years. But now that they've got a competent quarterback and some offensive pieces, they're kind of looking to, be on the up and up. So good for them. Obviously,
Bills finally have some competition.
Like Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel is a beast.
This week was the Giants-Eagles game, just because there was a lot of calls that were interesting.
Yeah, we should dive into the tush push for sure.
The first and main one, obviously, was you had a blatant fumble on a tush push that is It was 4th and 1. They do their thing of they have the surge, then they pause, and then they get the late surge. And then on that second push forward, Kayvon Thibodeau notices that, Jalen Hurts has the ball away from his body. So he jumps on it, rips it out, and is laying on top of it. And then the whistle's blown. And then they go back and look at it and say, actually, the play was dead before then. And they're trying to claim that the whistle was blown before the ball was fumbled, or that
Which it wasn't.
his forward progress was stopped. But here's the issue, is that they let them get that second surge, right?
They always do.
Every single time that it happens, he goes forward, he stops, and then he goes again, and they just let it run on. But it was like this time, since it ended in a fumble, before they got that second push, they say, actually, his forward progress was stopped back here, so no fumble, give the Eagles a first down, and obviously, they go on to score.
This just goes to show that the games are rigged for the Eagles. We've been saying it, or at least just rigged for the tush push, because it was clearly a fumble. They did not blow the whistle until after, was it Brian Burns had the ball in his hands?
There was a screenshot of when they blew the whistle, like the first time the whistle was blown. Kayvon Thibodeau's like on his stomach with the ball outstretched right before they came and picked it up. But, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, there's no way to defend this play, obviously, because they just call it however it favors the Eagles, and then it's a blatant fumble, and they don't even call it.
And then Darius Slayton catches a deep ball, kind of hand fighting with Quintavion Mitchell, and gets an OPI call on him, which they just never call OPI unless it's blatant. This one was not offensive pass interference, and they call it on the Giants. Brian Daboll had every right to be super mad at the refs, which he was this game, because those were just two blatant, like, here, Eagles, have a call. And especially on the tush push, what are you supposed to do? Like, there is no way to defend it. So if you're going to give them this unstoppable play, then you've got to give the defense something. At this point, I don't know what owners voted to keep it in the league when it was voted on this offseason. Get rid of it. It's ridiculous. Get rid of the tush push. It should not be allowed. If you're going to let them do, like, if it's just going to be an automatic first down, if you're going to let them false start, if you're going to let them fumble and still retain it, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, the thing is, you can keep it, but you have to call it.
Yeah.
If there's a false start, if there's a guy lining up in the neutral zone, if they fumble, or whenever they just let the play go on for 10 seconds or whatever, you can have the tush push, but you just have to, officiate it.
You have to call it both
accordingly.
ways. Yeah.
Right? And I mean, people are saying that it's different because the Eagles have perfected it, but I mean,
they've gotten away
them get calls that nobody else gets when they're running the tush push. So you can keep it. You just have to officiate it properly. And then obviously Giants lose Cam Skattebo to a nasty lower leg injury. He was kind of
you hate to see it.
One of the main pieces to their offense. They lose him after losing Malik Neighbors a couple weeks before that. So
yeah, not that their season was. It's already been over, but yeah,
it's already been over. But it was just cool to see what you had in your young prospects of Jackson Dart and Cam Skattebo. Even as Cowboys fans, it was cool to watch Cam Skattebo.
Yeah, we love Cam Skattebo here at Under Review.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really pose a threat, so didn't really have a problem watching them. But you got to fix the tush push.
T's and P's for Cam Skattebo.
Week after week after week after week.
Mm-hmm.
You can have it.
I say get it out. I say no. They clearly are not going to call it. They're going to give it to the Eagles every time, so get it out. I mean, if you're just going to hand it to the Eagles because they invented the tush push, okay. Like, it doesn't take a brainiac to invent the tush push, number one. And number two, like, you're just giving them every single call when it comes to the tush push, and just every single call in general. So I don't want to hear anything from Eagles fans ever because they get every call. Sick of it.
I mean, everybody saw it on Sunday.
It's a
trying
big
to sit
issue
here
right now.
and deny it, but we were all watching all that garbage on Sunday. But anyways, here's like in our shows and under review, brought you a quote from Tim Tebow, and he said, "Following the crowd is not a winning approach to life."
That it's not. So thank you for tuning in this week, and we will see you next week with another episode of Under Review.